Welcome to the Healthy Seas podcast, a show about what we need to do to have just that, healthy seas and a healthy future. I'm your host, 𝐑𝐞𝐜𝐿, and in each episode, we talk about the problems facing the seas and oceans and the solutions we have to fix them. Come on in, the water's fine. I'm here today with the Director of Healthy Seas, Veronika Mikos, to talk about a new project related to ghost farms. Hi, Veronika. It's great to connect again.
Hello, Crystal. Been a while.
So I'm excited to learn more about this big project that you guys are working on. It's really an exciting thing that you've got going. Can you first tell us what are ghost farms and where can they be found?
Historically, Healthy Seas and associated partners are working on the collection of ghost nets, which are abandoned, lost, or otherwise discarded fishing nets where the owner is not known, typically. So by ghost farms, we mean abandoned fish farms, where for various reasons the operations have been shut down and the whole facility is left behind, sunken or floating on the surface of the sea, polluting hundreds of meters of coastlines, often kilometers of coastlines. So these abandoned old fish farming facilities we call ghost farms.
Okay. And where can they be found? Pretty much anywhere, I would assume.
I would have assumed also. First time we bumped into ghost farms happened in Greece. Greece is a country we operate for many, many years. Currently from the 22 countries and 4 continents, which is covering our geographical scope, Greece is the country where we know that this problem is really serious and visible. In the meantime, we got to know through contacts in Chile, Latin America, also having ghost farm problems, and some occasional sites in Spain. So based on our research, we didn't find similar cases in Western Europe or Northern Europe, for example.
And why are they a problem? What are their impacts?
So when an industry goes bankrupt, either on land or at sea, you would assume that authorities and legal processes are in place, that the owner who is responsible for these facilities is cleaning it up. Or if not the owner, then the authorities. So in case of the fish farms in Greece, in 2021, 2022, we did already cleanups. And now we continue because we realized that it's not an occasional or unprecedented phenomenon, but it's covering several parts of the country. And based on surveys we've been running in the last few months, we realized that it's a bigger problem than we originally thought.
What kind of impacts do they have once they're abandoned?
As you can imagine, we are talking about a mix of materials. So parts of the building, facilities on land, including walls, roofs, the actual facilities, parts of the facilities at sea, the rings, the nets, styrofoam, huge amount of styrofoam, because inside of these rings there is this material. That's one of the most disgusting ones to clean it up because it's spreading everywhere, both on the surface of the sea and on the beaches.
You say the rings?
Plastic pipes, HDPE, black plastic pipes, rings, how to call it, where the nets are attached to and floating on the surface of the sea. That's what I mean by rings.
Oh, so the styrofoam inside allows the rings to float.
Exactly. I call them rings because typically they are in the shape of a ring. Sometimes they are square form. So everything from various types of plastic, styrofoams, metal, often boats. We have found at locations of fish farms, several vehicles, cars, trucks with oil spilling. So it's really a massive thing. You wouldn't believe how it looks like a site like this.
Wow. I can't believe that they would just up and leave all that. So in 2021, you cleaned up one of these messes. How did that come to be?
So what happened is that once we did a cleanup in Greece of a submarine of 50, 60 meters depth. And we got to the cover of local papers and national news. And the local community on the island of Ithaca reached out to us saying, if you want to clean up something really big, we have a fish farm here. And first we didn't even understood what you mean by really big, because we couldn't believe ourselves that it exists. We are not talking about a piece of fishing net or bigger pieces of fishing nets, what we used to clean up before, but massive industrial scale of pollution. And we also didn't quite know how to start once we received photos of surveys of this site, both on land, at sea, and underwater. So we kept it in the top of our head, and I must say we've been really, really lucky, because just within 2 months from got to know this problem and the cry for help from a local community, a new sponsor came to us, Hyundai, who was looking for a big-scale cleanup. So it was a perfect match in time and in terms of priorities of different parties coming together. So we were very lucky, relatively fast, to find the source of partner financially and logistically who can help us to start with this. That was in 2021. And now it's 2024, and we still continue because, on the one hand, not for the cleanup itself only, but also for the awareness-raising value. We really like to find institutional solutions for these problems, because we cannot and we do not want endlessly to clean up the mess of an industry. With the help of private funds, helping another private sector, right? It also has ethical reasons next to the financial project management and organizational reasons. So with these cleanups, we hope to showcase and raise awareness and find ultimate solutions that the responsible authorities, governmental bodies will help to solve this problem once and for all, because the local communities are left with it. And on their own, they are too small and too vulnerable and not in a position to solve it. So this is pretty much the framework of how we look at ghost farms.
How is this phenomenon happening in the first place? Like, why are these companies abandoning all of their materials?
Typically, they go bankrupt, or they went bankrupt at one point in time. And since then, there's been no law enforcement in terms of cleaning up. They receive fines, several fines from several authorities, which they do not pay, and also they do not clean up what they left behind. So this is where we thought we have a responsibility as an environmental organization to bring together different stakeholders, to run education workshops, cleanups, advocacy activities to tackle this phenomenon.
I assume it's just such an expensive thing for governments to come in and clean up, or how come there's such a long time goes before you get action from anyone?
I believe it's the bureaucracy in general. The legal framework is in place. It's just that the implementation is missing, and also it takes too much time. I mean, we've been looking into this case in Western Europe with the help of lawyers, advisors, why it is not a phenomenon, for example, in the Netherlands or in Germany. There, the governments and the responsible authorities would step in relatively fast and either seize or confiscate the property, clean it up themselves, and send the invoice to the one who was responsible for this on the first hand. In Southern Europe, there are different processes running, much slower. And my impression after so many years dealing with this topic is that in general, everybody is afraid of touching it because the financial, logistical, organizational size of it is huge. It's not a small cleanup, but at the same time, it's impacting not only environment and marine life negatively, also the life of local communities. We are talking about an area, Greece especially, where the biggest part of the GDP is coming from tourism. So the cleanness of the coastlines, having them appealing for tourists is really crucial for the economy itself. The smaller the community, the more crucial it is. And they are not in a position to organize cleanups. It's not a regular beach cleanup, picking up cigarette butts. We are talking about tons of waste with cranes, trucks, really serious logistics needed. So ghost farms are really a problem of the society in many aspects. Also, navigational safety and maritime industry. In the whole area, you can imagine bays where this material is polluting the areas. There are pipes, these plastic pipes hanging under the surface, 0.5 meter, 1 meter. If a recreational boat is driving in that area, it can cause damage. In the case of Ithaca, we know several occasions when local people have been injured while driving their own boat. Luckily, not seriously injured, or no one died, but it was just a matter of luck. For many, many years, people around the island were not able to use the sea around the island safely, getting home after a dinner in the dark, for example, by boat, because it was just simply not safe to be in the area. So ghost farms are impacting the environment and the society and the economy in various ways.
And I imagine with the nets still underwater, they're a danger for the marine life as well, just constantly catching like they were designed. Well, those nets weren't necessarily designed. They were designed to entrap or contain,
yes.
contain
yes.
the fish. But yeah.
On the top of it, we are talking also about antifouling and microplastics problem. These abandoned facilities are there not just killing marine life in terms of the nets, but also these nets are being treated by copper or by other heavy metals, which continuously keep leaking into the sea. Usually in fish farming processes, they take out those nets, periodically check it, repair it, treat it. In this case, we recovered 10 years old fish farming nets, and there's been hardly any growth on them. They were clean as they were at the first beginning, and we could send them directly to recycling just after simple washing and drying in the sun. It was really incredible. Usually when you see something in the water for that long period of time, there must be some growth on it, on the bottom of the boats as well, right? That's why fishermen and others with recreational boats, you have to maintain and clean the bottom of your boat. Because of the heavy antifouling content in these fish farming nets, can you imagine they just stay in the environment and keep leaking and polluting it? Also, in terms of microplastics, due to the exposure of sun and salt water, this material is degrading very, very fast. Currently, there is no technology available, according to my knowledge, that you can recover microplastics scattered in the seabed or in the environment. Floating particles, yes, with certain techniques from boats on the surface of the sea, but not at deeper depths or from the seabed. So it's also really tragic.
And the anti-fouling, I think, is what you said, that is put on these nets. So it's some sort of coating that keeps things from growing on it, almost like a pesticide or an herbicide? But more
it is
an herbicide, I would say. Wow, okay. And then that's just leaching into the waters around.
Yes, but back to ghost farms, what I would also like to mention, that it's also a problem for the industry itself. The fish farming industry is under pressure in many ways. Having these abandoned fish farms, ghost farms, are a reputational damage for the industry itself, which is aiming to become more sustainable. There are really fantastic innovations, pioneers in the sector, and these ghost farms are not helping overall the industry to be more acceptable by the public.
What's the estimation of how many are out there, at least along the coast of Greece, because that's where you guys are focusing your efforts now, right?
So together with our local partner, 𝐼𝐧𝐭 NGO, we've been running surveys in the last few months, covering 440, 450 nautical miles. And in this territory, we identified 150 locations of scattered fish farming related waste along the coastline.
Oh, that's a big undertaking.
So this is a figure we have on our own. And we just finished our presence at the conference, or Ocean Conference, where we had the chance to network with the most well-known scientists from the region, all over the world, actually. And ghost farms is not something they have data about at the moment. So the marine litter scientists have been confirming to us that it's also a new topic for them. So the best we could do is running surveys ourselves on the surface, underwater, and just going through long kilometers of coastlines and collecting the data ourselves from the hotspots, which we were able to identify through satellite images, and also through local stakeholders. So other local NGOs or municipalities who've been giving us the lead, explaining what they have in their area. We collected all this data, and then we did run the surveys to verify. Based on these surveys, now we can take further steps, design an action plan for the cleanups and community involvement activities.
So tell me about the project that you have coming up. Where will you be? What will you focus on?
So we are planning to run different cleanups, focusing on ghost farms starting in May throughout the year. And we also plan to emphasize the education element. And next week onwards, we are working with universities, various workshops where we can address topics like circular economy, responsible handling of fish farming related waste at the end of life. So we are kind of planting the seeds in the head of university students who are studying about aquaculture, that this element, what we work on, is also on their radar, so to speak.
And with all of the different elements of organizing a cleanup of this size, how long does it take to organize? Like there must be so many challenges that you face.
The cleanup we are planning to start now in May. We started to organize in April 2023. So already a year ago, we started with the surveys on the surface, land, coastline, and the surface of the sea. Afterwards, we put together a database, which we verified with lawyers, legal advisors, the fish farming industry representatives, to understand, is that correct what we have found? Do these seemingly not functional fish farms maybe have an owner who claims that it's still functional? So we had to verify really a lot of things about the status of these farms and scattered materials. Then we could narrow it down to a feasible to clean up and not feasible, or maybe at later stage to clean up database. Afterwards, followed by underwater surveys in order to verify that underwater we also find pollution and it's not just a pipe or a buoy on the surface. So we really had to work with a kind of matrix to do the best possible match, also about the ecological importance of the areas. Where we are planning the upcoming cleanups are areas you can find endangered species such as loggerhead sea turtle, monk seal, various type of dolphins. So then next to where are the pollution hotspots, what is legally possible to clean up, which is ecologically the most important area. Based on these, we had to narrow it down and also offer to our partners and sponsors the best return on investment, that also financially and logistically we will be able to deliver results with a significant cleanup. So this is the time frame of a year we are talking about. And when we're going to do the actual cleanup, maybe it's going to take a week or 2 or 10 days. So you understand that behind that cleanup effort, it's not the days when we go there, it's those many, many months, or in our case, a year before.
Of course. And there's so many different moving parts and elements to this. Like, you also have many stakeholders, like the community and the partners that you mentioned, local government, and et cetera, et cetera. Who else is involved, and What aspects were they involved in?
Dealing with ghost farms is not something we can do alone, or not something any organization could do alone. So next to the terrifying amount of waste and the challenging legal institutional environment of organizing these cleanups, another aspect is that we really need a wide stakeholder involvement. We are talking about national, regional governments, local municipalities, beach cleanup organizations, next to our diving partner, Ghost Diving, who are specialized in really complicated and deep cleanups, the recycling sector, on the top of it, a trusted and reliable sponsor like Hyundai, who is able to understand the scale of the problem and why we need to join all forces to tackle this. We are also very proud that all the material which we're going to recover, thanks to the recycling partners, is being taken care of. Some of the materials will stay locally. Others, such as the fishing nets, are going to reach aquafil, brace net. So the regular channels where we collect materials from will be taken care of and get a new life.
In the first cleanup in Ithaca that you mentioned, what were the results after the cleanup was concluded?
Next to the KPIs of the project and numbers like 78 tons of waste recovered just in 8 days, for us, one of the biggest impact was how the environmental sensitivity of the local community has changed. So after the cleanup, they were telling us things that 2021 will go into the history as the year of the cleanup. You guys made the impossible possible. So since then, we've been also in close touch with the local community, and we see how much more they appreciate the clean environment. Many of them has never seen that bay clean in their life, because at the time the fish farm was operating there since the 80s. They kept explaining the environmental impact of those operations, and since it has been abandoned, it was just visually polluting as well. One of the most pristine islands, which is actually a brand. Ithaca is a brand name from history, from culture. During the summer, many celebrities from Hollywood spend their vacations there. So you can also imagine that for the local community, it's been always a stain on the white shirt to have an abandoned fish farm like that there. So when you ask me about impact, I always have to remember these personal stories as well, the bigger picture, not only the numbers, what the actual cleanup resulted in.
Do you have any personal stories that you can share?
Yeah. One thing which really was very touching, that during the cleanups, no one believed that we will succeed till we actually finished. But the moment we came up with the idea that we finished with the styrofoam, collecting 150 big bags of styrofoam from one single beach with a shovel, and we finished whatever we could, but you could still see those tiny white particles scattered like kind of sand on the beach, but we were not happy with it. We promised the locals we're going to clean it up, and cleaning it up means everything cleaning it up. So what to do? We had a couple of wild ideas, but it all resulted in, no, we shouldn't. So at the end, we thought, okay, let's try it with a vacuum cleaner. And the moment we said that we would like to find an industrial vacuum cleaner, really everyone on the island started to think and search for it. And eventually we found one, which with a little modification, we could make it eligible. So we've been literally starting to vacuum clean the beach from that white styrofoam. I think that was the moment that the locals were really admitting, okay, until now we thought these guys are crazy, but now it's confirmed they are really crazy.
But a good crazy.
Yes, a good crazy. So the moment they saw that we are at the end of finishing our quest, they really stood behind us, and they helped to think with us and make it happen, whatever we were missing. And this vacuum cleaning the beach is just one story of the many, one of my favorite ones.
And did you learn anything in particular from that cleanup that you're taking forward with you for the future cleanups?
Collaboration is a key. Like I mentioned already, it's not something we would ever attempt to do on our own. We need strong local partners, contacts, and being backed up by the public administration at all levels is really important.
Yeah. So why did you decide to continue with these ghost farm projects as opposed to just more regular diving cleanups, which you guys are most known for?
Yes. Once we finished with these cleanups in Ithaca, I was really very happy and made the promise to myself, never again. But you know how it is, never say never. On the one hand, the local communities are asking for it. On the other hand, we realized that we have a sort of competitive advantage. We have gathered knowledge, instruments, tools, processes we became familiar with how to do this. So it would be a waste of know-how if we wouldn't help. And the third reason is that we are very lucky and grateful that the sponsor is also asking for it. So I think these are the three elements for success. We believe we have all three in our hands. So we continue in order to keep showcasing and keep advocating for ultimate solutions. We are in close contact with the industry, with the government, with decision makers. It's not something we should be doing till the end of times, because the big difference between a ghost net or a ghost farm is that the owner is known, and also legal processes should be in place to either hold the owner responsible or solve this situation with or without us, let's say. So we continue doing it for the reason, because we are in a position to do this. We have the knowledge, we have the sponsors, we have the supporting partners. And we really hope that it will make a change in the sector, in the whole industry, which hasn't come until now.
Do you still see a lack of information about the problem within the sector?
Definitely. And also lack of data. Like I said, there are many marine litter scientists we are in contact with, both in Greece and beyond. This is not something they have data about because, let's say, it's a relatively new topic. We started with these cleanups 2-3 years ago. And also it's a dynamically changing environment. Legal status of farms is changing from one day to another. What you define as ghost farm is not just abandoned, yes, no. Active, inactive, holds a license, pays the rent. There are many subcategories in the legal status. So how you define ghost farm legally? That would be question number one, I would say. And then scientists would need many years to gain some significant data representative for the size of the problem which they could work with. Hopefully we will never get to that point. Hopefully governments, decision makers will find a way to solve this issue before further researching it. Hopefully. So that's why we do this.
Is there anything that you want to leave us with before you move forward with these big projects? Is there anything else that you want us to know?
Maybe just one thing to mention about the right of people for a clean environment, which I believe should be a constitutional right in every country, if it is not yet. Even if it is, it should be put in place in practice if it is not yet. So for me, tackling these ghost farm problems is also in order to let people understand, those local communities which are affected by it, that they don't have to accept it, that they should speak up, that they should go to their elected politicians, to the local government, that they don't have to live silently with a problem like this. From Healthy Seas perspective, we also do it for the turtles, seals, dolphins, and all marine creatures who have to live with it silently. But I would also like to encourage local communities, not only in Greece, beyond, if you're listening and you know about such a problem in your own country, to speak up and don't accept it.
Excellent. I wish you guys so much luck in this undertaking. It's a big one, but it's so important and exciting. So I can't wait to follow along on social media to see the progress and to learn more about everything that you're doing.
Thank you, Crystal.
Healthy Seas is a nonprofit on a journey from waste to where. Founded in 2013, the organization aims at reducing marine litter caused by lost fishing gear through cleanup, prevention, and education activities. The nets collected by Healthy Seas are subsequently reused and recycled and used by its partners for the creation of new products.